Brother Neil shows are so good it makes the week go by in 2 days. Brother Neil Frazier, welcome back, brother. I'm glad to be here. Monday is not the same without you. That's why I'm glad that every Monday you can be here to share your wisdom and your knowledge, and you always go in with surgical precision and bring an angle to what they're trying to push down our brains from the mainstream media, so-called mainstream, and the news and everything on social media that's engineered. Well, you sit back and you watch this thing and you say, hey, let me come with the real thing. And so this is why everything that you share is totally nutritious. It's like the difference between a junk food meal and something that was home cooked with love. That's the meal that you serve us, mind, body, and soul. And I'm glad to be here to experience it. And I appreciate your presence on this planet, in this realm, and on this level. Thank you so much, brother. Welcome to the show. The floor is yours. Let's vibe and let's talk.
Well, thank you, brother. That's thank you always for the kind words. And whenever it's something about when you start speaking, it triggers something in my mind where it brings back memories. I don't know what that's weird how that happens. In a good memories. Some folks they bring back bad memories. Oh, you look at the caller ID like, oh my God, but but yeah, man, it's always good to be able to hear your voice, man. I got a chance to see you a little bit today, and I was just thinking about 2024 and everything that's happened, not just in 2023, but throughout the decades, the things we've experienced. And I have to admit, life is good. Like we were chopping up earlier, life is good. It's based on your perceptions, what you do, how you view life. And I always like to say, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's right.
And so, I know that because people like you and I and the family or whatever, because we don't live by narratives, we're able to see way beyond the 90-degree compartmentalized way that most of us have been indoctrinated in this world. But I just want to say, brother, before I go on, I just want to give a shout out to you and your wife because I know when you are doing the real thing like you're doing, it takes a tremendous amount of passion, energy, and dedication. And I just want to say to you that from the day that I met you, and I still say I met you way back when I was living in Jamaica, Queens.
Yes, you did, man.
For those years. I know that I have. And at some point I was thinking back, I was talking to my oldest son, and I was thinking back on my days in Jamaica, Queens, and I know for a fact that I have seen you, brother. Our spirits connect too closely.
Your imprint is in my soul. Your imprint is in my subconscious mind and conscious mind. We vibe somewhere. It may not have been for years and years. It may have been 2 or 3 times in a barbershop or somewhere where I pass by and we vibe. We know the same people. Sometimes you just don't know, but it's annoying. I know you, man.
Driving those gypsy cabs on the weekends in Jamaica, Queens. I know I've seen you, man.
Yeah, I was always, let me tell you something, all through them areas, even if you didn't know me, even if you didn't ride the van, you knew my face. Now, I'm not saying this from an egotistic level.
No, that's true.
In the streets, driving the vans, being known by people, growing up in that neighborhood, there's no way. I met a lady.
There's no way.
At the gathering there in the Independence Square, right? They had these big Ghanaian stars there, and I sat at the table to get something to eat, right? I went out there, and there was another couple from the UK, and this lady, she kept looking at me. She's like, "I know you," and I'm like, "Okay." So a list of jobs and different things and situations. I said, "Listen, I've been all over for a long time in New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Bronx, Manhattan, and I got along with people. And
Yeah,
we went
that's the big
down
difference.
when I worked at the People's Court TV show doing security, bodyguard and Harvey Levin.
Hmm.
Sometimes of people, and they would have us take off the earpieces and talk or answer the questions that Harvey asked. Right. So she's like, "That's
Right.
where I," because I always watch that show. But then there's a lot of other
That's
things that,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
just, it
Well, I
wasn't even you.
definitely know you know my I know you definitely know my ex-wife, the mother of my children, that is from Jamaica, Queen. I
Yes.
guarantee you know her if you saw her.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, man. So I just wanted to give you your tribute for
Thank you.
2024, and many of us continue to depend on you. Your energy and the things that you provide for us. I'm very grateful. I don't take that for
And I'm grateful
granted.
for you to come
Yes,
on
brother.
consistently and
Yes.
build such a, and you're doing it without ego. You're doing it without, you're teaching, you're sharing, but you're not full of yourself. We have people who,
Hmm.
but they're full of themselves, want to challenge the people they're teaching or sharing their perspective. Yeah, how do you do
I
that?
know.
People are entitled
Yeah,
out here on these YouTube
I know,
streets.
man. It's
It's
crazy.
amazing. I'm glad it brings me joy to do what I do. And no matter what the
Hmm.
adversary out there may be, I don't focus on that. I focus on the
No.
joy of what I do. Sometimes it's late,
Yes.
I fall asleep and crash, and I'm happy doing it because it's an extension of the life that I lived in Queens growing up. Every day,
Yes.
I have so many experiences and so many things, to talk about because I vibe with so many people, made personal jokes and
Yes.
laugh and you know what I mean. Look at things
Oh
deeper,
yeah. Oh
and so
yeah.
it's really to give back that way, man, to make people see things a different way. It's a beautiful thing,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
And you're part of
And,
that mosaic, brother, a big part of that mosaic. And for us to be alive and well in 2024, doing this as we are, it brings back that good old feel. So we don't have to worry about what's going on in the world right now. We still have
that's
that
right.
part of our life preserved, that back in the day feel. And we're not living in the past. We're very much part of the present. But we have that.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
right. We still have.
100%. Yes.
I'll turn the floor
Yes.
over to you, and I'll
Okay,
be here.
brother.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to say Happy New Year to the family. And I hope you guys are ready to blast off in 2024. We have a lot of work in front of us. Um, One of the things that I was looking at was that now that this electromagnetic vortex is open, which no one can close, uh, it's time for us to step into our purpose because now we are being called again to reclaim our rightful place as the true leaders of the planet. Um, so today's presentation is called People Perish for Lack of Vision. The Great Migration or the Great Metamorphosis of 2024. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions about what do I mean when I say that we live by narrative. So I just want to clear this up before we go into this, so we can have a real clear picture of what it is that we're dealing with. And, a lot of times when I go back and I revisit a lot of our true history that has been buried, and the reason why people don't want to talk about it, I realize more and more every day how tremendously grateful we as a people should be, not only to our ancestors, but to each other. Because for you to do what you have done, and I know black people get a lot of flack, I'm one of the ones that always talk about, but I just want to say in 2024 that I'm very proud to be a black man. I'm very proud of our people. And the reason why I'm proud of my people, and I want to give a shout out to Eagle Eye, my brother Eagle Eye, who, have taught me over the years some of the things that they have dealt with on the reservation. Shout out to him, the nephew of one of my spiritual teachers, Dr. Kojo, rest in power. And I realized the games, the deep seated games that have been played on our people. But even with all of that, we have come to this day, and now we are ready to step into our rightful place as the true leaders of this planet. So this word narratives, what I mean by that, and I always like to use an example in nature because, of course, nature is our greatest teacher. When this is the reason why you have editors, okay, in different aspects of venues of the media. Because when you look at nature, the parrot, or Paco the parrot, one of my favorite characters, uh, a parrot regurgitates what they hear. They don't edit it. They don't, change what they've heard or anything like that. And that is the natural audio visual system of the creator creative spirit. A narrative is something that's edited and then represented to you. So when I say that we live by narratives, this is what I'm talking about. Even your own history is a narrative, and it is an interpretation of everything that all the concepts that you originally brought into the world. So before we get into the graphics, um, there are 6 subjects that I want to cover in this presentation. Again, people perish for lack of vision, the great migration or the great metamorphosis of 2024. The first thing we'll talk about is what is the vision for Black people moving forward in 2024. And today, they like to do background checks on our people, but today we're going to do a background check on America. Because when we do, we get a true picture of who we are as a nation, who we are as a people, a nation within a nation, and we'll take a real look at what it took for our people to come to 2024. And I should say, again, we battle with each other throughout the year. And then when we realize, again, this new year is based on the Gregorian calendar that we live by, but nonetheless, in our minds and in our spirits, this is a new year. So what is the vision for Black people moving forward in 2024? We're also going to talk about the migration of the mind and moving into a new reality. We're going to discuss the great metamorphosis, come out of the cocoon and leave the caterpillars behind. It is time to eliminate all things that's not a part of your assignment and your purpose. How do we know this? Because every year nature sheds its leaves. So we know that if nature sheds its leaves, then we are not greater than nature, contrary to what some people want you to believe with religious rhetoric. We're going to discuss the universe and the planet, which is calling you to greatness for you to embrace your purpose. We're also going to discuss restoration. What does restoration stand for? What does it mean? And that the time has come for you to rise like the mythical phoenix and then reclaim your birthright. And then the last thing we're going to discuss is that we're living in the day of divine retribution. It's here. And you must choose. You cannot love the creator, okay? As they say in your scriptures, that you cannot love God and what you know as the devil. You know, you can't embrace the wickedness of this nation and then at the same time say that you're a representative of the creator spirit. Okay, that is like trying to put oil in water. Um, so I have actually three tremendous examples to use from our history as we begin the background check of America. Uh, the first one we're going to discuss is the Trail of Tears, and we're going to revisit this. Um, and so, yeah, so before I go into the Trail of Tears, I want to, yeah, brother, go ahead and put that first visual up, please. Um, I want to discuss this because America is a economically driven nation, and it should be. But what the real issue is that we are constantly deceived about the structure of this economic system. We are told that we live in a system, a capitalistic system. That is partially true, but as I'm going to break this down, you'll see that that is not the whole truth. Um, this system that we're looking at here is the foundation of the European economic system, wherever Europeans are in, you know, control, whenever their concepts control the nation in which you live in, which is, well, we know all of the Western world, but certainly in the motherland as well, Central America, South America, in some places in Mexico. But this system right here, okay, which Karl Marx and Frederick Engels correctly analyzed, came out of what was called feudalism. Okay, and that system, which transitioned into capitalism, is what we have always lived under, even though you have been given narratives that suggest something different. So here we see the four tiers that are established. When you look at the king, we're talking about the 1% of the people that rule the world, that manipulate, you know, all of the systems that and the governments that we live under. And then we look at the lords. The lords are the financial arm or the bureaucracy that controls all of the financial distributions, manufacturing. And, you know, we're given a narrative that we have trade wars and we're fighting against, you know, different nations. That is not true. All of these people work together. They are not beholden under any laws. You take our own Federal Reserve or the IRS, they're not even arms of the United States government. They operate outside of that. Then we have the what we call the knight class, which is um, rich people, people who benefit from this system. Many of them work in this system, and they are thought of as being wealthy in many cases. They are the corporations that run America and run other nations in the world. Many of our people who serve at this level and who also benefit from the fiat that they get from this system, and as well as many of them get major assets in order to continue to operate. They pass this down to their descendants. These are the ones that utilize all the resources that they have taken from the lands of Black people. And here at the bottom, you know, when we look at the bottom of our economic communist manifesto system, this is where the terminology they used to use is serfs. Okay, and when you study this history, you'll know exactly. I'm not here today to debate with anyone about this. This is a fact. They have, well, now it used to be the peasants or the workers could, basically, come up off of working and, getting paid a decent wage from the bourgeois class. But now we see that even this has been taken away. So this is why this great migration or metamorphosis of the mind must take place amongst the people that exist here at this class structure. Because something else I learned, when I was living in Atlanta and I was going to Clark, Atlanta, I got a rude awakening about how this system operates, because Atlanta at that time was ran by Black people. Okay, the city council, the mayor, the businesses were owned by Black people, and then I learned that above them, the people that were actually pulling the strings and calling the shots um, were people that didn't look like you and I. But the people that looked like you and I were the ones that were actually running this system. And so the last point I want to make about that is this system was also used here in America and still is being used, that effectively set up what we're going to talk about today. Okay, brother, you could go to the next one. Into.
There you go.
Oh, great. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I want to talk about this because, over the decades, whenever I used to be involved in situations, or I guess you could call them symposiums or debates, whatever you want to call them. But I used to participate in forums where people were trying to understand, the foundation of religion and the impact, the socioeconomic impact that it has had on our people, the spiritual effect. And this was something I discovered decades ago, that whenever I tried to bring this up or talk with some of the participants in these forums, it was always it was always the Black pastors and preachers that wanted to shut me down, because you see, our people have been told a lot of lies about surrounding this. They're told that the King James version was the one that was dominant in America during the time that the so-called pilgrims came here, but that is not true. Okay, the in fact, the first Bible to be printed in America was the John Eliot translation of the Bible into Algon Algonquian, okay, and the Algonquian language was the tribe that existed during that time that was leaning most towards the European concepts of how they should live. And we'll go into that in a minute. But you see, our people are unaware of this history. Okay. In fact, the first seal of the Massachusetts colony included the picture of a Native American speaking the words, "Come and help us," from Acts 16 and 9. So you see, the reason why it was printed in this language is just like when they came or went to Akibalon or when they went to Central America. It's the same playbook. Or when they went to South America. Wherever the invasions of our lands took place, then this so-called scriptures was presented to our people, but yet the spirit of it was totally opposite from which this information was printed. But the long story short, it was printed in this language because these were the people that had the most influence in that area. And they wanted basically to do them like they have always done us. Okay, where they give our people the scriptures, but yet their behavior towards our people is one that was totally opposite. I like to say is the law of polarity in full effect. Um, yeah, but this is an area that our people did not really fully get the real story about what was done. Okay, brother, you can go to the next one. Yeah, thank you. This, as I look at the different times in history and our experience here in the Americas, um, we see this same pattern played out in the history of America. This is why they don't want to talk about this or teach this to the children, because if you think about it, you know, they always talk about what the vision for America is. It's democracy and all of this other stuff. I'm not going to really say the word I'm thinking. But again, in reality, not narratives, I'm talking about in reality, it is the total opposite. But this history, the Trail of Tears, needs to be revisited. And we're going to revisit it today because it is very important to our people to grasp the totality of our experience here in America. Um, so we know that assimilation, no matter how much it was told would be the best thing for us, and there were reasons why we needed to assimilate at that time. But the reality is that the illusion of assimilation was something that was the absolute destruction of our people. Let's look at what the Trail of Tears taught us. So during this time, when the five tribes wanted to basically assimilate with European culture, there were several things that had to take place that we're going to show when we get to the great migration of Black people. We're going to show how this history that they did not look at us as different, okay? And we're going to show this history that even though there were differences in the cultural makeup of some of our people, we're going to look at how we were viewed and how this whole same playbook is played out with our people and the ones that they want to call native Indians in order to confuse everyone. Um, the first thing that took place was the rejection of your own culture, your own language. And as Eagle Eye taught me, is that they had to totally reject their language. And what does that remind you of when our people first encountered these invasions? Is that the number one thing that they did was, in addition to printing the Bible in their language to confuse them, was they had to reject their own culture, starting with their language, just as we had to reject the Medu Neter, of which you know as hieroglyphics. Okay. The second thing that was done was the erasure of your culture, which meant that all of the things that was in your language, and by the way, they were forbidden to speak their language, but all of the things that pertain to your language, like tradition or your mores, all of these things, your social aptitude, the things that you did together, which you call worship today, we did that naturally because we worshiped everything in nature. We worship the Creator the way that He is and she is supposed to be, or I should say, she and he. Because I don't look at it in terms. I look at it in terms of the masculine, feminine energy, but for sake of getting the understanding and comprehension, I'm going to use this terminology. Uh, the other thing was that you are made inferior to the self-acclaimed white supremacists. And so this was something that was effectively done because in order to dominate a people, you have to make them inferior. And so this was the roots of this, what I don't like to use the word supremacy, because there's nothing supreme about anyone who uses hate to destroy the people that were created not by them. Okay. And then we saw, as I showed with the Bible being printed, the first Bible in America, regardless of what they teach you in a church or in a school, was printed in that language, that Eliot Indian Bible in 1663. You don't have to take my word for it. You can, well, you know, Google is the god of information today. So, but yeah, that was the first Bible that was printed in America. Okay, brother, you can go to the next one. Yeah, so before I go into this one, I wanted to make a couple of comparisons here with the Indian Removal Act. Now, this was a land grab, okay? This was a land grab which was violently taken from our people, okay? And it was called the Indian Removal Act, okay? It was signed May 28th, 1830, which was the beginning of the genocidal war, okay? And that is reminiscence, okay, of the Homestead Act right here, and we're looking at, okay, which basically was land taken from black folks. Okay, and because of this, there was a great migration. We're going to talk about that as well. But you see the parallels here, that regardless to what century you want to look at, this same playbook was used. So now, when people want to debate me about feudalism and capitalism, yeah, of course, within the capitalistic system, You can work hard and achieve certain things. Yes, this is true. But there is a ceiling, okay, that even when you do get the fiat, okay, that they give you, there is a ceiling that you cannot go beyond. There are no money laundering black banks or financial institutions. So that is where you're cut off at. Okay. And we're going to talk about why we need a new vision in that area. Because one thing I learned about Chinese people, they don't deal with credit. Maybe that's something our people need to look at. But they do transact everything with fiat, and then they compound it. Um, but this was a major land grab. As I said, it's reminiscent of the Homestead Act, which was the land taken from black people, over 160 million acres, and given to Europeans when, wherever they chose to go after they had taken the land. Okay, brother, we can go to the next one. Let's see here. Okay, so let's move into the area of education. And it's interesting when, again, uh, when you look at the history of this, um, the thing that happened as a result of the Trail of Tears um, with our Native brothers and sisters is the Carlisle Indian Boarding School, which was founded in 1879 in Pennsylvania. Okay, it was a former military fort. Okay, and the children were shipped by train, okay, to this location. Now imagine that, okay, that they were shipped from all around the country. And the general who actually ran that, well, it was basically a fort that they converted into a boarding school. I don't see the difference. But he made this statement: kill the Indian and save the man. And so you see, this whole attitude about superiority and inferiority that and this is something that black folks picked up as well. I have to destroy what's inside of you, your creatrix given characteristics, nature, gift. I have to destroy this. And you see this played out against black folks, mainly against black men, where they have to destroy your masculinity. They have to destroy your intelligentsia, which is all of everything that you produce. They have to make black look bad. So this is where we get this behavior where we have to tear each other down in order for us to feel that we are superior. This is directly where we get this from. We're taught this. And so you see, again, the similarity. I remember growing up in Savannah, Georgia. I remember the first day that we were bussed out of our community. And well, people that know me, that really know me, know I had a hard time during that time. Um, I can remember the junior high school that we were bused to, and the first day, it was rough for us, because here we were in a whole new environment. Uh, you know, Everything was different. We were now living around and going to school, not living around, but going to school with white children and introduced to a culture that we had never known before. I remember this like it was yesterday. And like I said, I struggled. And I remember the first day of football practice, and clearly I was the best safety. but it was this little short white guy who had been the starting safety for 2 years. Well, maybe 1 year. And nice guy. I tried to kill him when I could, but I ended up having some issues. I ended up, I'm not going to say what I did, but I was sent away to a school, alternative school for seventh and eighth grade, and that had a impact on my life. I'm not going to say what I did, but that whole struggle between cultures was something that was very powerful and impactful to our people at that time. And I can remember some of the struggles that some of the guys I grew up with, and even some of the females that I grew up with, we were having issues adjusting. And, every day, we'd have to take that long ride on that big, long yellow bus. And, it was almost like we were being transported to, another world. Okay. And, but things turned around, my high school year ended up winning a high school basketball championship. I think I talked to you about that before, Lance. But things kind of turned around. But the thing that didn't turn around, okay, was I remember looking in those books, and I never forgot how the impact it had on me seeing those white faces in all the books we had, never seeing any of our people. And I remember, the challenges I had in the classroom because I've always been a person that I didn't just take things just face value. And my growing up in the church and my dad being who he was, they believed wholeheartedly in Christianity. So, it was a lot of conflict during that time because